Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Denny Bedard. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Diane's been working with buyers and sellers in the Missoula market for over 25 years and shares her insights on the local housing market. Along with her trusted partners, Diane provides complete service for your real estate transaction and brings us guests who provide useful information on industry-related topics and trends. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on News Talk, KGVO.
Well, as always, first things first, we hope you are staying healthy, and we really appreciate you joining us on Missoula Real Estate Today. Couple of guests, Myles Link, Mortgage Loan Officer with Opportunity Bank of Montana. Later on in the program, Rob Fleming, Branch Manager with Mann Mortgage. Myles, good morning. You get to go first.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. First question, of course, is how you are conducting day-to-day business in the current coronavirus climate.
You know, the business right now, although it's different, it's running fairly seamlessly. You know, fortunately for us at the bank, we have a lot of the technology to be able to work remote, and all of our lobbies. While our lobbies are all closed at the banks, the drive-throughs are open. Having that technology affords us the ability to kind of continue doing loans and just like normal, almost.
Sure, you are indeed working from home. What, as far as customer service is concerned, what are some of the bigger challenges that you're having to deal with as far as that arrangement?
You know, I've always been kind of a paper guy, and so, you know, even though we have all the electronic signatures and technology, I've always kind of still gravitated oftentimes to paper, and so sometimes, you know, there are some individuals out there that don't have the ability, or it's difficult to get to, you know, a scanner or be able to get on a computer and sign disclosures electronically or what have you. But for the most part, I guess I'm kind of surprised, because I've been that paper guy, at how many people are willing and or maybe even prefer to do a bulk of the transaction electronically. And so, you know, other than having the paper and not being able to meet folks in the current situation face to face and go over things with the lobbies being closed at the banks and some of that face to face meeting is definitely a hurdle. We try to, you know, I've been trying to just, you know, contact folks on the phone and go through things a little more, you know, if they want to do a FaceTime call, or, you know, I'm doing a lot of estimates, different things on paper, and then sending it to them, and then we can kind of talk on the phone and go over it together. And that seems to be working pretty well. But other than the face-to-face, most everything's running fairly, you know, seamless. A lot of things we've done in the past have been electronic anyway, with title companies and closing documents and things, you know, email and that sort of thing. So that transition hasn't been too tough.
What effects are the current housing market conditions in Missoula having on your business? Are things staying, you know, pretty brisk with folks wanting to be ready when the right house comes along?
You know, I was thinking about that the other day, because March, for me individually, was a very busy month for closing purchases. Of course, you know, those purchases started in February. And so, meaning, you know, February is a real active month, had quite a few things go under contract, closed in March. And then, you know, it has slowed up a little bit. I do have a fair amount of people that have been still calling and getting pre-approved. I think it's a combination of having the ease of getting into homes, and like we've always said for the last 18 to 24 months, and I know Diane's, you know, talked about it on the show, and we've talked about it. Even without the current situation, there's still just a lack of inventory on the market.
Right.
And of course, this is making it a little bit worse. But I think right now we still have buyers, and probably more buyers than sellers right now.
Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our first guest this morning, Myles Link, Mortgage Loan Officer with Opportunity Bank of Montana. Later in the show, Rob Fleming with Mann Mortgage. We are, of course, practicing our social distancing and doing our shows over the phone, unfortunately, because I do like to visit with all these folks face-to-face, but that's how we're going to make it happen for now. Myles, what are prospective home buyers concerned about? Are you getting a lot of questions about Of course, whether you're open and doing business, if money is still available, things like that?
We are, we're getting, a fair amount of folks are, wondering, can we still close a mortgage? Can we still, do we have that ability to still purchase a home or, and so we have had a fair amount of calls in that respect, or just customers that we've had, in the pipeline that have been looking for homes. And I think the biggest concern has always been, we depend on everybody in the industry to make this happen, including behind the scenes, the title companies and the appraisers. And so, there have been some modifications done from the appraisal side nationwide on some of the appraisal requirements, depending on the transaction type, what kind of down payment, what type of loan. There have been some modifications. So in some instances, what type of appraisal required has eased up a little bit. And of course, fortunately for us, knock on wood, the folks at the title companies who we depend on to get these transactions closed for us and offer up title insurance, they're making modifications to their processes, but they're still, all of them in town are still open for closings.
You alluded to this a few minutes ago, too, supply and demand. We're still seeing homes being sold, of course. If the opportunity is there to buy a home you really want, well, you don't want to let that get away. And it sounds to me like you are able to offer a lot of other reassurances, to prospective home buyers that in spite of everything's going on, you can make it happen, right?
Yeah, and obviously it's been all over the news for the last, better part of a month and a half. Interest rates are at an all-time low. Historically, we haven't seen interest rates this low for this long in the 20 years I've been in the business. And so we've been down here before, but not for more than just a couple of days. And so this is kind of an historical time interest rate wise. And I think, like you say, people want to take advantage of the market. And this is a perfect time to take advantage of where the rates are. Fortunately, we need to have those homes available for people to look at and purchase, but there's buyers out there that are ready to take advantage of the current interest rate market.
Right. What are some of the steps you take to help people determine which type of mortgage is best for them, conventional, FHA, length of term, et cetera?
Obviously, we like to sit down with people as much as we can, mostly first-time home buyers, so they can, see those programs on paper and we can go through them, one by one. That's a little more challenging, but we do what we can over the phone. But the biggest thing is if we start with what your income is. Do you have a down payment? If you do have a down payment, what type of down payment do you have? Are you looking in town, out of town? And that kind of helps us to determine, because some of the loan programs have stipulations on location, meaning, if you wanted to buy in town, that the rural development, which is a common first-time home buyer loan, you have to be outside the city. And same thing with, some of the first-time home buyer programs out there have income limitations. So we kind of start with those main income assets, where you're looking to buy, that kind of sets us in motion of what might be the best loan program for you out there right now. What we're finding in the current market, unfortunately, is there's a limited amount of institutions out there, and if they are offering them, some of the rates aren't ideal right now when it comes to government loans, which is your VA, FHA, that type of thing, RD. The rates, while those programs are still out there, the rates right now aren't as competitive as we normally are used to seeing. I think that's going to be a short term, and things will come back. But what it is, some of the investors that purchase a lot of those government loans, what they're finding is a lot of the current loans that are going into forbearance and payment forbearance and that kind of thing. There's a big percentage of those are in the government arena. And so I think some of those institutions are now pricing their new loans, new rates a little bit higher, because I think the financial institutions are just getting a little more leery with the uncertainty right now with some of the government loans.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our first guest, again, via phone, Myles Link, mortgage loan officer with Opportunity Bank of Montana. Myles, how about online applications? Do online apps take a lot of extra scrutiny on your part?
Online apps, like we said in the beginning of this conversation, I've always been kind of a paper guy, and so I've always preferred to take my applications over the phone, and I've been kind of more forced because of scanning, limitations of scanning and some of those things with some borrowers. I've been forced to kind of use that online application a little more. And I have to say the online application probably takes me about, on my end anyway, about half the time.
Wow.
And that's because the borrower's doing a lot of the work on their end as far as the data entry. And typically what I've been doing is getting that online application. And once it comes to me, I'll contact the borrower and we kind of go piece by piece and just clean up some of the pieces that maybe were, sections that were missed or, make sure we're on the same page. But, to be honest, it's about half the time. And I think with my business and our industry and probably other industries out there, we may see a little bit more of a shift on how people do business going forward.
Well, along those lines, as you're reviewing that, what are some common mistakes people make in the application process?
It's just simple things like, they put their, total gross income in instead of what it is per month. And, they put the annual amounts or, they put in if the loan amount in for the purchase price and, different things, like that. But it's, we always have to have a 2-year work history. And so some people don't haven't been on their current job for the 2 years, so they don't put in the prior employment or proper dates. But those things, once we have, the body of that application, a quick phone call, 5-10 minutes is all it takes to kind of go through that and clean it up. And it's really a slick process. And we're fortunate, at the bank, they were forward thinking and installed a lot of this technology a few years back. And although some of us haven't really used this online technology that we have, boy, it's coming in handy now.
Yeah, well, that's reassuring stuff. So by and large, mistakes made, but pretty easy fixes overall, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep.
I know that the Opportunity Bank team likes to be involved in many community events. Unfortunately, you're probably missing some of those that you usually plan for this time of year coming up soon, huh?
Yeah, we're not getting out about too much. Nobody is, are they?
No.
I know that we're working, hard trying to make sure everybody gets taken care of on the mortgage side, and I know we're, our commercial side's working hard on some of those. Some of our bank customers that have businesses and small businesses and trying to get those folks taken care of as some of the, for some of the SBA loans and some of the government programs that are out there to help small businesses. And so while we're not out there physically in the community, we're doing everything we can to kind of help within the community,
You bet. Contact information. How can people still do business with Myles Link at Opportunity Mortgage?
Yeah, currently the best place to catch me is cell phone, which is 406-544-5115. You can go to the opportunitybank.com website, and I'm also listed there with my full contact information as well.
Well, stay healthy, and I'm sure we'll visit again soon, huh?
You too. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Denny.
And we continue with Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our other guest this morning, Rob Fleming with Mann Mortgage. Rob is branch manager with Mann Mortgage. And, Rob, I'll go ahead and start with the same question I started off Myles Link with, how you're conducting your day-to-day business in the current coronavirus climate.
Yeah, Denny, it's been interesting. I guess we're going on week 4 this week. We kind of jumped a little bit ahead of the curve as far as getting out of the office and getting set up at home. Fortunately, we work with a company, and I'm sure most in our industry are like us, fairly nimble, which has proven to be a good thing during this crisis. We were all able to grab our laptops and scurry back to our house and get set up there. And with internet connections being strong and technology the way it is, it's actually proven to be, like I said, nimble, and we're plugging along. Right now, I mean, the irony of the whole thing, honestly, it's crazy. We are probably busier right now than we've ever been. Our pipelines are completely full. The amount of loans we're doing right now is actually, when I projected, I just looked the other day, and we're a little over twice the volume right now that I expected us to be this time this year.
Wow.
A lot of that's refinancing with rates being low, but the purchase market is actually still pretty active. And so to be that busy during a crisis and to be kind of plugging away business as quote unquote usual is a good thing. We feel pretty fortunate.
I think I'll skip a little bit ahead there since you brought it up, and the answer probably obvious to many, but what is with refi mania right now, Rob?
Good question. Well, it starts with math, basic math. Interest rates are at their historic lows. There's been a lot of rate volatility. This all started with rates moving down the way that they have probably about 2 months ago, month and a half, 2 months ago, and it really kicked into high gear in late February and early March, before the virus really started to show its full exposure and kind of settle in. And interest rates were just trending down and fairly gradually, and we got to this point where we were at about 3.25% on a 30-year fixed and about 2 3/4 on a 15-year fixed. Those are conventional rates, and everything was great. On Monday, March 10th, I remember locking in a bunch of loans that day at those rates. And then on Tuesday, March 11th, what hit the fan. The news really started to kind of hit our shores that coronavirus was becoming something that we feared it would, and its effect on the market started to kind of unsettle, so to speak, the structure of markets. The Dow, we all know what happened with the Dow. But the mortgage-backed security market really started taking a huge hit. Companies, hedge funds, investors were selling mortgage-backed securities as fast as they could, which is not a good thing for interest rates. As investors sell bonds like mortgage-backed securities, then the yield goes up, which means rates go up. And long story short, from about Tuesday, March 11th until about the end of March, we experienced more rate volatility and more volatility in the mortgage-backed security market than at any other time in history.
Gosh.
So it actually made 2008 look like a walk in the park. And I mean, I've been doing this this is my 24th year. So, having lived through and worked through 2008, I thought we'll never see that again. And in those 2.5, 3 weeks of, March, towards the end of March, middle to the latter part of March, it was even crazier than what I had seen before. Now, with all of that said, the Fed started, as we all know, printing money and using that money to funnel it back into the mortgage-backed security markets to stabilize those bonds in order to keep rates low. So fortunately, the Fed jumped in, and that's a whole other discussion of monetary policy and a whole other macro level economic discussion that we won't get into it at 30,000 feet right now. But what it's done in the short term is it's brought stability back to the mortgage-backed security market, and it's brought rates back down. So we're right about back where we were on March 10th before things started going crazy. I'm locking in rates today on a 30-year fixed at 3.25. So it feels good to be back. Who knows how long it'll last? This whole thing's got a long ways to play out. But with that said, when you're doing loans for people 6-8 months ago or a year ago, and they're at 4.5, 4 3/4, 4.25 even, and they have the opportunity to drop their interest rate by a point or a 1.5 points, I mean, it really makes a lot of sense. It can save anywhere from $150 to upwards of $300 a month. And as we head into, a shroud of uncertainty with, as far as economics go, and of course health as well. I think a lot of people are feeling anxious right now, not knowing what the future holds. And if they can jam in a refi real quick and save $250 a month, doesn't sound like too bad of an idea. So that's why probably half of Missoula right now is out there refinancing and creating such a busy time in a time when we're supposed to be locked down. So that's created interesting dynamics when it comes to closing loans. At title companies, we're now closing our loans with all of the title companies in Missoula, quote unquote, curbside. So we don't go in the title companies. We all just sit out in our car, and the borrower signs papers, and we wave at them and give them the thumbs up and answer any questions they have and go on our way.
Oh, my gosh. Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guest is Rob Fleming, branch manager with Mann Mortgage. Thanks to Myles Link with Opportunity Bank of Montana for joining us earlier in the show. So, Rob, how has this affected the turnaround time? What's an average or practical amount of time you could expect before you could get all of that in place compared to what you can expect now? Has that been a drastic difference?
It's not as drastic as I would have thought, Denny. It's before, we always like to say give it 30 days.
Right.
If you're writing a buy-sell agreement or you're getting your application in on, April 1st, we're going to close on April 30th. That's a good target. We could always get it done a little bit sooner. But right now, I'm trying to encourage people real estate agents and buyers, let's give it an extra 10 days. Let's try to make this 40 days because appraisers are getting backed up.
Right.
And I'm sure inspectors are as well. Title companies are really feeling a strain right now. So I don't think that there should be the need to rush through things. I think that giving time and space to allow everybody to get their work done. But honestly, I've seen it much worse than this. I've seen it before in years past when the system really just jams up and, it was taking 45 to 60 days to close. So, knock on wood, we're in a pretty good spot right now. It hasn't affected us too much on turnaround times, and hopefully going forward, that'll remain the same.
And you did mention how busy you are, even in a different climate and a different way of doing business. So in many situations, a different method, but you still have to go through the process of getting started. What are those first steps to getting a mortgage?
Well, we usually people reach us, however they reach us, whether they've heard of us, they've seen us online, or they've gotten referred to us from their agents. So it's always nice to start off with a phone call, although, at least to introduce and talk through situations and kind of see what borrowers are looking to do. So, but generally the process now more than ever is electronic. Folks will just get online, do our online loan application, and then we have a really great system where they can just upload all their documentation into their application portal online. It's 100% secure and safe and fast, and then we're just off and running. But I do think, especially for those who are navigating this for the first time, right now, it's we can't really get face to face and talk through things, but being on the phone and spending the time with first-time home buyers to walk through the process, or even second or third-time home buyers if they have questions about programs and costs and different options. We're always available by phone. We may be working from home right now, but the phone still works, and we're still cranking away. So, it's just a matter of getting the right information into people and letting them ask questions and being there for them when they need us. And we're very good at that. And, so whether it's email or phone, we're accessible at all times.
Can you explain a little bit about mortgage points, Rob, or paying for mortgage points? And if you have it in the budget, is that a good idea?
Well, that's a great question. Mortgage points are kind of making a comeback right now. In years past, up until recently, say for like the last 5 to 10 years, I was never really a big fan of mortgage points because, well, the whole concept of mortgage points is spending additional money, which are deemed discount points, to buy down your interest rate. And for a long time, we were seeing that money that you spend today to buy down a lower interest rate to theoretically and bring down your monthly payment, the money that you spend today was taking 6 or 7 or sometimes 8 years to be made back if you took the monthly savings and divided it into that cost. So, that's a long time. And people generally aren't always sure if they're going to be in the house long enough to recoup that investment. And to be honest with you, there's probably better ways to invest your money. But now we're seeing a resurgence in that a lot of times with the way rates are structured these days, we're seeing that discount points can be bought down and paid back within 24 to 36 months. And when that's the case, if folks are extremely confident that they're going to be in the house for 4 or 5 years, beyond the time it takes to recover that money, then I think it's a really good investment, and I throw it out there as an option with almost all of my clients. We take a look at different rates and what it would cost to get those rates, and then I leave that up to them.
Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guest, Rob Fleming with Mann Mortgage. Rob, that is all part of the get acquainted process, of course. What are some of the questions that you like to ask at the start to help you recognize whether or not you feel you will be able to help that person out?
You bet. Well, there's the core 4, as I always call them, the 4 C's. There's credit. There's what we call capacity, which is your income and your ability to repay your debt. There's cash, which doesn't necessarily mean cash literally, but it means how much money would you have available for down payment, whether it's checking, savings, investments, a gift from family members. And then the 4th is collateral. So in the case of a refinance, we always want to know, what's your loan to value looking like? What's it going to be? What's our new loan amount going to be? What do you think your property's worth? So, if we can have a 20-minute conversation and allow a few minutes on each of those 4 key points, I can generally determine whether or not somebody's going to be approved. Of course, we have to order a credit report, and that can be done after they've done their application online. But honestly, a 15 to 20-minute conversation really can cut through just about everything. And as long as people have an accurate feeling for what their credit score is, most everybody knows how much they make. Most everybody knows what their monthly debt load is. So most things can really be underwritten, just on the phone. But then we have to, of course, get documentation to verify all of that and have to pull a credit report. But yeah, that 15 to 20-minute conversation can be very precise, and it can really save us a lot of time, and it can get us from point A to point B in a pretty quick manner.
Excellent. Well, before we wrap it up with a contact info, why is Mann Mortgage still a great place to do business?
Mann Mortgage is a great place to do business here because we've been established in the Montana community since 1989. Our headquarters, a lot of people don't realize, is up in Kalispell. That's where most of our underwriting's done. That's where our corporate headquarters are located. We have licenses in every state west of the Mississippi, and now we have licenses and locations actually east of the Mississippi, but we're a good family-owned, family-based Montana company. We work with every loan program out there that's community-based, whether it's down payment assistance programs, special grant programs, Montana Board of Housing. We really dig in and make sure that we have every tool in the toolbox available for all of our clients in the community.
How can people still get a hold of Rob Fleming with Mann Mortgage?
They can call us at the office, which is 542-0700, or they can visit us on our website, which is missoula.mannmortgage.com.
Stay healthy. We look forward to having you on Missoula Real Estate again soon, Rob.
That sounds great, Denny. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for listening to Missoula Real Estate Today. Contact Diane Beck with Windermere Real Estate. Email dianebeck@realtor.com or visit her website, homesinmissoula.com. That's homesinmissoula.com. We'll see you next time on Missoula Real Estate Today.